According to Alexander Doty, most people find it next to impossible to articulate their sexual identities, queer or non-queer, without some reference to gender. Sexual identity can be defined in relation to the subject's gender and the genders they're attracted to, thus setting 2 points of reliance on gender. Bob and Rose is a television drama from 2001 created by Russell T Davies about a gay man, Bob, who somehow falls in love with a straight woman, Rose. It explores sexuality in a unique way by starting with Bob's sexuality as gay, then incorporating his attraction to Rose into that sense of identity. It explores sexuality starting in a queer position, with Bob already having constructed his identity as a gay man, which is then deconstructed and explored as he falls for a woman. Bob and Rose responds to Doty's statement by producing a sexual identity that exists beyond strict gender boundaries and overcomes reliance on gender.
I'm a nice man.
Doty explores how gay men can identify with some aspect of the feminine, or as a negotiation between masculine and feminine, an idea present from the earliest on-screen representations of queerness. Bob's own view of his gender identity is that as a gay man he exists simply within the category of men.
All sorts of men. Nice men and tall men and straight men and gay men, because that's me, I'm gay.
And this represents Bob's view that gay men are equally within the gender of men as straight men. However, the text of the show presents a more complex relation between gay men and the cis-hetero construction of masculinity. Judith Butler presents a theory of gender by which gender is performative, the reiterative and citational practice by which discourse produces the effects that it names. By engaging in gendered acts, gender is created. Butler also notes that gender does not stem directly from biological attributes, rather that biological and social signifiers combine to construct gender. Bob views himself as male, stemming from his sexed body. However, his social performance of gender separates him from straight men. Bob's initial meeting with Rose is defined by this difference from straight men. Bob recognises the threat implicit in walking behind a woman at night, crossing the road and smiling at Rose, thereby negotiating the gender dynamic between them and signalling that he is no threat. The show presents this threat in a way accessible to a straight male audience, using handheld camera and dark ominous lighting on Bob to convey danger. Bob's ability to recognise the violence of straight men sets him apart from most men ignorant to gendered violence, thus placing him in a different social category. Bob's best friend is Holly, a woman Bob works with who has a secret crush on him despite his sexuality. This inverts the gay best friend trope, a trope which positions gay men closer to straight women than straight men, typically in media which gives gay men little to no autonomy. Through Bob and Rose's play on this trope, it allows Bob to be positioned separate from straight men while challenging the gay man's relation to femininity. Bob's social life is distinct from straight men, closer to straight women, but still distinctly different. At the end of episode 3, Rose looks over a whole collection of straight men and realises they're all the same as Andy, her ex and the primary representation of a straight man in the show.
Chinos, preppy shirt, nice. Andy used to wear that. Oh, he's having a laugh. I like that. Andy was always having a laugh. Oh my God, they're all Andy. He's all of them.
Within this analysis from Rose, she creates a discursive category for straight men based on appearance and behaviour. Implicitly, Bob is separated into a different social category. While a basic reading of this categorization is simply that these men are straight while Bob is gay, none of this grouping is done by sexual desire. This suggests the social category of gay men surpasses sexuality to become a gendered distinction defined by stereotypes of gender.
I swear to you, I was born gay, I'm gay now, I'll die gay, and I'll have a gay gravestone.
Bob's sexuality is, however, primarily defined by his attraction towards others. Bob states several times that he's gay, and the narrative supports this as the correct conclusion, with subplots frequently dedicated to characters coming to accept this reality. Aside from Rose, Bob is exclusively attracted to men, which he tests internally a few times. Whether Bob is bisexual is asked by a few characters, with Bob always responding no. He isn't attracted to women as a category, only Rose as an outlier. Whether gender is transgressed by Bob's sexuality allowing him to feel attraction to a woman, or by Rose's gender allowing her to be attractive to Bob as men are, isn't explored by the show. Within a performative model of gender, either could be possible, as gender's not objective or absolute, but rather performed and constructed in loose shifting categories. Bob and Rose, however, doesn't ask why they're able to exist as a couple. It simply accepts that they are, and that such an exception to gender can exist. In a 2009 article, Judith Butler asks, are there forms of sexuality for which there is no good vocabulary precisely because the powerful logics that determine how we think about orientation do not admit certain modes of sexuality? The show's answer is yes.
He's a gay man with a straight girlfriend, and that's equality!
However, the show also considers how Bob's identity construction could further homophobic discourses. Davies writes not to produce discourse deliberately, but to have the drama of his characters reflect real attitude. In doing so, he still reflects and addresses fears over the construction of Bob's identity. As gay identity is explored beyond a simple definition, the homophobic notion that someone could grow out of their sexuality is present. These fears manifest in Carl for the gay audience, both Bob and Rose's dads for the straight audience, and Holly for a straight audience convinced they can be the gay man's exception. In the final episode, Rose has the opposite concern, present in some bisexual discourse, that Bob will miss out on sex with men. It also explores the biphobic stereotype of cheating because of the idea that having a partner of one gender won't satisfy a bisexual. Side note that Bob's experiences transcend both monosexual and multisexual discourses, and Bob's sexuality is difficult to fully describe in any widely accepted language. The conclusion of the show answers these fears after Rose picks up with Bob, believing she alone can't satisfy Bob's sexuality. Holly and Bob go on a night out where Holly flirts with Bob but gets shut down, while Bob remains attracted to the men at the bar. This acts as the ultimate demonstration that Bob's sexuality hadn't changed, only that Rose is an extra element to his attraction. In doing so, it affirms Bob's view of his sexuality, that he is a gay man, and however much Rose's gender is incompatible, he loves her. In conclusion, Bob and Rose demonstrates a transgressive formation of sexuality, where Bob is a gay man whose gender is defined separately from the standard, whose attraction, while defined broadly by men, has an element of fluidity and transgression, thus demonstrating queer sexual identity which overcomes reliance on stereotypes of gender.